Hi everyone, how's everyone doing? Today we're going to be talking to Ben, and he's going to be telling us about his personal development journey. So today is transformation time, and we're going to get to know all about Ben's journey. So I'm excited to have him on because it's going to be fun to hear his journey and learn from him. So I'm just going to invite him. I see that he's on. Just give me a second, guys. So yeah, it's always exciting to hear people's personal development journeys. Hey,
How's it going?
good. How are you?
Oh, pretty good, pretty good.
I'm excited to hear about your story. It's always fun to hear people's journeys and how they get to where they are. How have you been?
Oh, pretty good. Not bad at all. Just I got the week off work, so I've been able to actually relax a little bit for once. Just waiting for some refis to come through, and yeah, so I can move on to keep doing what I'm doing.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think taking breaks is always so important because I feel like sometimes we get so busy in just focusing on work, work, work that you don't even get to enjoy all this work that you've done.
Absolutely, 100%. And like for myself, that's always been a downfall of me is like not being able to shut it off and actually just kick my feet up and just relax and enjoy the fruits of the labor, right? So
$100%.
this week's been good in that regard. So just doing a couple little personal projects that I put on the back burner and enjoy which doing the stuff I thoroughly enjoy doing.
That's awesome. So let's get started. So just to give everyone a view of where of you, let's start with just where you're at in your real estate journey right now.
So currently, so I'm from Sarnia, and so um, I'm currently got seven rental properties for a total of 17 doors. Six of those properties I've actually purchased in the last 12 months. So I had one single family semi-detached home prior to that, and then since then acquired six more on top of that one just in the last 12 months. So currently, I'm looking, like I mentioned previously, I'm looking to refi two of my properties so I could take that money and put it towards my latest purchase, the triplex, all of which are actually on the same street in Sarnia. So,
So you're
so
gonna take over the whole street and then you'll name it after you.
that's right. That's what I'm hoping. So that's the goal.
That's amazing. And and that's awesome that you could get it done in a year. You could get six properties done, and I'm sure you had a mentor to help you to be able to move so fast.
Oh yeah, that's like bottom line. Anybody getting into real estate investing, that's if you can find yourself a coach that not only focuses on real estate investing, but personal development as well. I think that's a huge bonus because when I first started out in real estate investing, that's was my main focus was just real estate investing. I didn't think about the personal development until a little bit further into the game, and I'm just like, I think there's some changes I got to do personally inside of me before I start to really expand and move on. And so I got hired on, or I hired on. I started working with Corey McKinnon, which is a huge blessing for me because he's actually from Sarnia as well and knows the market, very well. So I sort of feel like I've got that little bit step up on some of the other students in his course. But it's just always been really um, helpful how having him like Corey is he's got real estate investing, he's got mindset, he's got health, he's got wealth. He's a full package. And he's been there and done everything. In regards to coaching, he's been fantastic.
That's awesome. And it's so true that a lot of people, I think everyone starting off doesn't realize how impactful the personal development and mindset is until I think you hit like a certain point or maybe a roadblock or something that just kind of like makes you you know, all of a sudden you get this realization, because it was kind of the same thing with me. And then it was just like, wow, I realized that my mind is really what blocks everything. And it has nothing to do what it, like the things like money, the houses, it's really all in in our minds.
Yeah. Yeah. A big thing for me was actually, when I first started out was my confidence level was, in the tank, right? Like it was, I had zero confidence and I always questioning myself, how am I going to do this? How can I do this? Right. And I think that was a huge turning point for me when I finally like even these doing something like we're doing right now, like, oh my God, what if somebody asked me to do an Instagram live with them? What am I going to do? What am I going to say? You lose. And then after a while, it's just like you said, you hit a roadblock and you sort of you dial back, you look at where you're at, you look at what you want to achieve and look and face your fears and what's really stopping you to moving, getting to that next level. And I think for me was just that confidence level. I had to bring my confidence level up. And I think what I started doing at that point was I just started looking, you're not supposed to live in your past, but if you're looking at your past and you're looking at all the wins you've actually made in your past, small little wins, little wins that you would, not even think about as a win, like as simple as, making a really awesome catch in baseball, that was a big win. And then, or like hitting a home run. And then there's graduating college and graduating high school and all these other little wins that, a lot of people don't really look at as a win. But for me, they were pretty decent wins for me in the way I was, my upbringing and stuff like that. These were big wins for me. So I look back at those and I'm like, you know what? I can do that. I can do this. So
That's awesome. And yeah, that's true. You know what? A lot of us don't acknowledge the wins and like the little wins, which is where it got us to where we are today. And we just don't realize it because it's such a, we're always like that, especially if you're looking always forward or you're looking like at what you haven't gotten and and you kind of forget for some reason of everything you've achieved. And sometimes you gotta just have to like step back and be like, no, I've actually done a lot. I've done maybe more than I've exceeded, or at least what I expected to get done. And it's just always great to acknowledge that, because I feel like if anything, it also makes it easier to go forward too, right? Because you can take the actions because you can already reflect back to see. So what was for you your pivotal point that made you want to get into real estate?
that's a great question. And I love telling this story because, um, of course, like it almost seems like everyone's story is very similar in real estate investing, right? I think a lot of us, we all have that entrepreneur in us that just wasn't alive at that time. I was in a job that, it was a lot of poison in there. It was just like a lot of poisonous people. And I'm still working in that job, but I've separated myself from that stuff. I used to take it to heart, and stuff like that. So I think for me, what it was really just being in a job that I really didn't enjoy. I was making good money, and that's the other thing I always find is everyone that gets into this was already making good money, earned money, but for me, it was just trying to looking at my finances. I was doing everything I was told to do. Go to college, get a good job, and just life will take care of itself. But I mean, I wanted something more. I'm a very goal oriented person. If I'm not working towards a goal, I'm not really happy. So um, that's where I sort of like, you know what? I think something's got to give, something's got to change. And I was actually just mindlessly scrolling through Instagram one day, and there was an ad that came up for a bunch of self-help books. And Rich Dad, Poor Dad was right front center there, purple book, yellow letters. And my wife at the time was telling me to, you got to start reading books. And I'm like, well, I haven't read a book since college, right? And that's only because I had to. And so I said, okay, well, if you want me to read a book, get me this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And so she got that for me for Christmas. I opened it up Christmas Day, didn't put it down. And that literally was that seed that was planted reading that book was, very healthy seed. And so from that point forward, it was just, and I was just talking to my neighbor today about this. I haven't stopped. There hasn't been a day that has went by where I thought about real estate. And so from that point there, after reading that book, it almost seems like all the stars started aligning. Rich Dad Poor Dad was offering a weekend promotional course in Sarnia that, and then to find, of course, Corey McKinnon, it was also from Sarnia. Everything just sort of started working out for me. And from that point there, it's been like just action and nonstop action.
That's amazing. And I totally know what you mean, yeah, about when you don't feel like fulfilled in your job, that it does make you start looking at what other options are there, or specifically freedoms, just having the freedoms to do things that you want to do and not always having to be on other people's schedules. So yeah, it's very true. I feel like, and like you're saying, even just about the money. Yeah, a lot of people, it's never really about the money. It's about the fulfillment in life, and I think that's a big thing, especially people who talk about that. For example, like, oh, like all you care about is money and this and that, and it's in general. I don't think entrepreneur, or at least in the general sense, I think majority of entrepreneurs don't ever really think about the money. It's about the fulfillment, and like you said, the goals and the achievements. It's fun to have a goal and succeed and then set another goal, because I'm the same way. I'm very goal oriented. Like, I like to set a goal and let's see, let's try to achieve it, and then keep on going, move forward. Like, learning is such an important part of our life, I think.
Yeah, and setting the goals as well. Like, you don't have to know every step to achieve that goal, right? All you have to do is put that goal out there, and baby steps. Every day, as long as you're taking a baby step towards that goal. And then once you do finally attain that goal and you look back and you're like, you know what? I was stressing over about achieving this goal. Was it really that hard? Was it really that bad? It never usually is. Like, I mean, there's always hurdles. I've had my hurdles. Trust me, I'm going through a hurdle right now. The banks finally put their brakes on me, and I'm like, no, not now. That's not when, right? So it's just like, but I mean, it's the times we're in, right? So you can't take it personally. You just gotta keep moving forward until you get a yes. And nothing's official right now, but I think I'm that close to getting a yes. So I'm happy about that.
That's great. So what would you say, for example, were the skills that you had and still have that helped you in your, like, get started, especially with this year that you said that you got 6 properties? Like, what helped you really to push and move fast like that?
That's a good question, because like, the biggest thing, the best skill I had when I got into real estate investing was being handy, right? I can fix things, I can do things in that regard, but that only really goes so far, because at the end of the day, your time is better spent, finding deals, finding money, and all that stuff, right? So past being handy, I don't really feel like I had anything else going for me.
Except for goal setting.
Except for goals. I just knew I wanted properties. That's all I knew. That's all I knew. I just wanted properties. So like, even my communication skills, like I didn't even like talking on the phone. If I couldn't see the person's face in front of me, I would just seize up and just like want to end that phone conversation as fast as I possibly could. So my communications were in the dump. My communication skills were in the dumps. My computer skills, still working on those. Still working on computer skills. So I mean, like, I'm still, working away on that. And then of course, working with Corey, one of the big things is you got to raise capital. You actually got to go out there and you got to raise capital, or just like, well, what, like, where do I get that from? Like, oh, well, from people, you know. I'm like, from really? Like, I would ask
Isn't
them,
it very scary to make the first call and be like, hey, can I have some money?
yeah, exactly. And it's just like, it's mind boggling. And then like, and I'm just like, wow, like, okay. And then, so, I mean, you know, and then of course, when you're being an overthinker, you start overthinking it and overthinking and overthinking it. And actually, I just got to I'm at a point in that journey about asking for money that even just before the phone call tonight, I was talking to my neighbor. I just, my latest property I just bought has some pool equipment left over, right? So there was an old pool, but all the equipment was still there, and I know they have a pool, so I thought I'd ask them if they want to buy it. And we started talking about properties and yada yada yada, and then he brought up the word equity. I'm like, oh yeah. So
Reel him in, reel him in.
so this is part of the learning curve. Like before, I would just be like, give me your equity, and then no, but now you got to sort of like, you know, ease into it, and then, you know, and that's where I got to tonight. So the guy's like, well, how much do you need? 50, 100? I'm like, let me get back to you on exactly how much I need. But yes, I do. I will require some, and I'll let you know. But you know, like having these like when I first started out, trying to like even thinking about having these conversations, I was losing sleep over it, right? So, but now it's just like, oh well, if you got equity and you want to make some money on it, let me know, and maybe I can help you out, right? So, you know, I think you got to look at it as you being the prize. And I think we're just reading a book right now. It's called Pitch Anything. And it talks about that in that book. You gotta be the prize. You gotta want them to come work with you, because you are you're going to make them money, right? You're going to make them money, and that you got to be the person, be the prize to do that for them.
Yeah, great point. If exactly, because I had to say the same revelation too. For me, especially, I don't know if you had this, but like, for example, being a salesperson has such a bad connotation to it. And so I always just say to like, I don't want to do anything related to that, because it's just like, I don't want to look like that kind of, you know, persona.
Right.
But then when you start learning about it, you start realizing that, you know, like exactly you were saying, you know, I was thinking, for example, like, why would I want to give the bank business when I could give my friend's business instead? And then it was just, you know, you start really thinking about, why don't I help them, like people that want to be a part of it? And then it's just like, I don't know, once I think when you really start getting into this, you start realizing the benefits. And then I think that's what also, was that what made it easier for you to speak to people, was just like, because you know what you can really offer them?
Yeah, right. It's exactly that. I said I'd offer him 10% on his money, right? And his, you know, his ears perked right up. And I even mentioned that to him. I said, you know, in my deals, everyone has to win. And, you know, everyone has to win. And, you know, I gave him a couple examples where I'd actually borrowed money. Like my first year of buying properties, I borrowed like almost $900,000. And I've always paid it back. Like that's, you know, from trusting the process, right? Doing the Brrrr, trusting the process, and, you know, and explaining to him how I did it, and how it benefits everybody. Like, I borrowed my fiveplex. I put a private mortgage on it, borrowed the down payment from another person. So here I am into this fiveplex with none of my own money. And at the end of the day, they all get paid back with their double-digit returns, and I get a building for free. So if you can work a deal like that, that's amazing.
Yeah, 100%. And so what other, since we've already gone into basically the next question, because basically the next question was skills that you needed to improve. So one of them, you talked about communication. So what other skills, now that you're in the journey, have you realized that you need to learn, or you're in the process of learning?
I think one of those skills would be dealing with uh, dealing with people who are trying to take advantage of me in some regard. You know what I mean? Because I mean, I think lacking the confidence I lacked before, I would just let it happen. and now like even like just dealing with the type I guess the type of person I would like to like think that they're on your boss, right? Like I was dealing with a contractor, and he didn't want to do it. He didn't want to do anything I wanted to do in my own property, right? No, oh, we're doing it this way, we're doing it this way, we're doing it this way, and I'm like, okay, I don't disagree with you, but that's not what I want, right? So I said, okay, well, if it's not going to be too much money, let's go ahead and do it. And then and when I walk away from that, I'm like, no, that's not what I really want. So then you got to go back and like, no, we're not, but I think that's one thing I'm getting better at, is just being like, no, 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 that's not what I want. That doesn't get me more rent. Why would I want to do that? Doesn't make sense. So at the end of the day, I think once you put it in that perspective for them, they're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So that, and maybe I think yeah, like that maybe is one thing for sure that I'm definitely still working on. I can't really think of anything else right now off the top of my head.
Okay, but those are two very good ones. It is very true. A lot of us do have problems with saying no to people and realizing that, we have to do what's best for us. Because why are we going to, for example, spend so much extra money for something that really is not going to, let's say, bring value through the appraisal, let's say, and, maybe, for example, then at that point, because we spent all this extra money, we don't get the 100% BRRRR that we expected to. So it's very true. I think saying no um, is, and you definitely have to have like the confidence for it, because it's true. Like sometimes we just like want to please everyone or something, okay, it's okay, whatever you want. But then who's not pleased? Us, because
Yeah.
we didn't allow ourselves to say no and just get what we want to get out of it.
Yeah, like, and you're afraid to offend them because, oh, if I offend him, then he's going to cut corners on my job, and he's not going to do things right, and he's not going to do this, and he's not going to do that. And at the end of the day, like, it's just like, you know what? It's my property. It's my project. If you don't like it, there's the door. That's my attitude now. Like, there's lots of you people out there. I can find more of you. I think that's one thing I'm working on, and this just in the last couple months, I've dealt with that a few times, and now I'm just at a point like, you know what? If they don't like it, see you later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you don't want to work with people anyways that you don't really fit well with, because I mean, I'm sure you're in the process of also trying to find your power team, and if that contractor just like, if you guys don't mesh well, it's like you're going to want to find people that you mesh well, so that you have that power team where sooner or later you don't like, they just know you and you just like, this needs to be fixed, and they already know what to do for you, because you just have that connection and know how to read each other very well.
Yeah. Like the one contractor I use right now, I've known the guy since grade 5, and so I've known him forever. I had a leaky toilet there at one place just last week, and I called him up and I said, hey, can you meet me here at this time? We got to go check with this toilet. And he went in there, he diagnosed the issue, told me what it was, and took off. And I said, okay, I can fix it from there, but I just needed him to diagnose the issue. And he didn't even charge me for it. So definitely, yeah, if you got a good contractor, treat him well, and he'll come back and treat you well just the same.
Exactly, yeah. And that's also, I think, a very important thing, is that whoever's on your team, you have to treat them well, especially the ones that, I mean, like the ones that you really want to keep, you want to make sure that you treat them as well as you can, because exactly, they'll do these little things for you like that. Like, they get paid so well that, oh, okay, I can quickly make a stop, like in a few hours this evening, I'll quickly go make a stopover, just because they know that you have that relationship there, that they're going to be getting, let's say, the next business, or they're getting taken care of, and then obviously they take care of you.
Yeah.
So what would you say, for example, mindset wise, what were some mindset shifts that you had throughout this year?
That's there's a bunch of good mindset shifts I had. The money mindset shift was a huge mindset shift for me. in regards to the way people, the way people look at money was a huge lesson for me. Because I mean, back when I first started out, money was, a commodity. It was something you wanted to really have. And then now, and then changes that mind shift to where it's really just a tool to get the things that you want. And if you do it correctly and purchase the right things, with this money, then, and at the end of the day, you can go out and actually afford those things that you may want to buy that you don't necessarily need. So that was a big mindset. I never looked at money that way before until I got into real estate investing, started learning that aspect of it.
So what was your mindset belief before? Like you just wanted to save money or yeah, what was it?
Yeah, it was just like, save whatever you could, put it in RSPs if you could, and which is, I've been putting in RSPs for 2 years now. But it's just try to save, and don't spend, and, and be cheap, and, and all these things. And now it's just like, no, if you're spending the money in the right places, it's okay, right? It's not a bad thing. Yes, I'm probably spending the more money now than I'm definitely spending more money now than I ever have in my life, but it's for the right thing. It's for the right purpose, and it's going to pay dividends in the end. And that's the ultimate goal. So
yeah, isn't that really funny? Actually, that's something also with me that I found very interesting. And actually, I'll say before I talk about that is just something that I heard that really I think like helped me think about things was that, for example, like there's only so much you can save, and then you just make it to like zero. Or let's say you're saving, for example, 100% of your money. When you're looking in the other way of like spending, and obviously again, like you said, like spending on the right things, like your income, the amount of money you can make is limitless. So it's just like, why try to save? It should be, if anything, investing in things to increase your income, because income is infinite. Saving, you can only save up to your like whatever your income is, and then that's it. So if you're making 50K and you're managing, for example, to save all that 50K, like good for you, but you're still at 50K. But
yeah,
if you're investing all that money, or some of that money, then you may be going 60, 70, 100, then you're going up, and then saving money doesn't really it doesn't make a difference anymore, because it's about increasing your income and spending the money on the right things.
yeah,
You're like investing in yourself, in equity, or any, like whatever it is, your business, whatever it is, like smart spending. It's what, at least for me, I kind of also did, that shift where, because I was also like a huge saver, I have to say. Huge. Like I was like, every penny I could save, I was like, yes, accomplishment.
yeah,
Those were my goals back in the day. How much can I save? Like how much can I not spend?
yeah. Yeah, and even talking with my neighbor, like I was telling you earlier, like that was his mindset, and it's that, I think it's the generational change happening here, because it almost seems like a lot of the older crowd, that's what was instilled in their brain, was just to save, and don't take any risks. Well, if you take a calculated risk, like in real estate investing, where you literally can calculate the risk in every purchase, and if the numbers make sense, then it's a good deal. If they don't, then you don't do it. Like you can actually manage the risk or look at the risk before you even make the purchase. And so, but I think it's like, for them, I just don't understand. They're living that industrial age way of thinking, where you just got to hang on to every last penny as long as you can. But chatting with him tonight, it was just like, it was an eye opener for him, and because I was explaining to him everything that I've been doing the last year, and he's just like, wow, like he was flabbergasted. And I've told him how much money I've spent and paid back and borrowed and yada yada yada, and he's like, man, I want in, like like he was like throwing it at me at the end of the conversation. I'm like, okay, well,
Yeah, take my money right now.
yeah, right.
You're like, okay, thank you.
Yeah, like I can tell you know what you're doing. You're in the game. You know it. You understand it. Like there's always a plan. Like even if as soon as I, before I even ask, I'm always thinking to myself, like, what's the exit strategy, right? If I were to take this money, how am I going to exit out of it? Like, you may not always know the answer right away, but that's always back there thinking to yourself, okay, if I take this money today, how am I going to pay it back in 3 months? And if I can't pay back in 3 months, do I have a backup plan for that? So, that's, like, people wonder how we sleep at night. Well, we sleep pretty good. It's because we're always,
Mhm. We
we
have
got,
a plan. We have a plan.
yeah,
And like I just wanted to actually backtrack because you're talking about calculated risks. Um, yeah, it's because it's also like same thing. Like if you invest in yourself, you take that risk, or invest in something, you take the risk. But the thing is, like you said, it's a calculated plan, a calculated risk because you do your due diligence. And for example, even easier when you have a mentor because then they're really guiding you because I mean their job is to make sure you don't fail. Or I mean, everyone has like their little failures, but you don't fail like deeply, like boom, like you don't make a really stupid mistake that they should catch, right?
yeah,
but but the thing is even when you have the little failures, it's all about learning. So it doesn't matter like what you invest in, as long as you're like, okay, I did this. Oh wait, that didn't work. Okay, let me tweak it a bit. Let me tweak it a bit. And I think that's also very important is when
yeah,
you have to take those calculated risks, but also make sure you're always, continually learning.
yeah, yeah. It's so one of my favorite things that people say about real estate investing, right? About people that aren't educated in it. It's what about bad tenants? And that was again one of the first things out of my neighbor's mouth. He says I've always thought about buying real estate and getting a renter, but I've heard nothing but horror stories about bad tenants. And my attitude towards that is that's because that person doesn't know how to pick a good tenant, right? Bottom line, like, so he's like, what do you mean? I said, every tenant that I've ever chose for myself has always been a great tenant. Like, I barely ever get a phone call from anybody. And I got 17 units, barely ever hear from anybody. I get a little complaint here and there. But at the end of the day, it's up to the individual who owns the property, who decides who lives there. So I was
Mm-hmm.
explaining that to the guy. I said, there's no such thing as a bad tenant, only a bad landlord. A bad landlord will let a bad tenant in that property. Where if you do your due diligence on the person, and I don't know how I seem to attract, well, this is one thing I do to attract good tenants, is I'll actually pay referral fees to my other tenants to refer me a person. And so this year I think I paid out like $600, so $200 a tenant to one of my to find a tenant for me. And so it saves me from having to advertise. It saves me from having to um, try to find somebody, or like, those people that message you and that don't show up. It avoids all that stuff. Yes, I pay a little bit more for it, but it definitely saves a lot of time, and my time is worth more than that than that $200 that I pay out. So
100%. And like they always say, right? Like you're always hanging out with the people that are like-minded. So if you're going to a tenant that you like most likely the people they associate themselves are of like-minded people. So that's a great tip actually that you gave right there, because that is definitely that's a very good way of doing it. And and yeah, I completely agree with you about the landlord, that it's really the landlord that picks the wrong tenants, because it's the same with me. I've never had like bad tenants. I've had the same thing like here and there. Someone be like, oh, this is wrong or that's wrong. Quick issue gets fixed, but nothing where, you know, I don't know, you hear some of the stories and you're just like, I wouldn't have, like
yeah.
probably because you didn't like do a good background check on them.
Well, and a lot of people seem to, they like the tenants from what the government checks, which nothing against those people, but it's like a lot of them don't care, right? They don't care about the properties. They're not necessarily going out and getting employment and stuff like that. So I always like the younger, responsible individuals, because if they are young and responsible, chances are they're going to be wanting to move on after 2 or 3 years because they want to buy a house or do whatever, right? move out of town. And so then after 2 or 3 years, they move out. I get the unit back, do a refresh, do whatever I got to do to it, reset the rents, and then get somebody else in there.
100%. Yeah. All great tips. So any other mindset shifts that you had that were big for you?
Um, I think a lot of I think a lot of my personal growth came actually from within me. I think a lot of, there's I think when you it sounds sort of corny or whatever, but I don't care. When you start really learn to love yourself and really care about yourself, things start working a lot better for you because you start looking, at things differently. You're looking at people differently, and I think that was a huge mindset change for me. Was just making that interchange. The interchange was a huge, massive change for me. Once I realized, of that, it was just like, wow, like I've been going through my whole life not really liking who I was. And I think that was a huge issue with me. I wasn't really liking the person I was. I felt like I was a bad husband. I felt like I was a bad dad. Because I was just trying to please too many people at work, and I was taking all that away from my family. And then when you start redirecting that towards yourself, so now it's like I have a great time with my wife and kids. We go camping all the time. We love life is going much better now because of that. So that was a huge change for me. It was it feels much better now.
That's a great point that you brought up. And it's funny you say that. Yeah, it's like it's people think it's corny, but at the same time, those are the people that don't actually understand the impact. And it's not until you go through it that you realize the importance of, like exactly you said, like taking care of yourself, like health wise, mentally wise. Because I've noticed with people, and even in myself, you have like your ups and downs in your life is where you'll have a down period, but when you're in your down, you don't realize that you're down until you take yourself out of it. Right. And then, so for example, like exactly you said, like people that are in their down, like, oh, my life is fine. This is the way it is. And you always make excuses for yourself. Like, no, this is how it is. And then, as you start focusing on your health, you start focusing on your mindset and you start pulling yourself out of it. It's so true like that. When people say, for example, oh, like fixing me and like because they're in a different state of mind, it's like they don't understand it. Like they said, huge transformation. Love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
Aaron.
it was funny for me, like, back, whatever, 10 years ago, whatever, you hear somebody saying, oh, I'm going to go find myself. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? I can find myself. Look at me. I'm right here. Right. Not really understanding what that whole concept meant. But when you do finally find yourself and you're like, wow, I feel like when you find yourself, you start becoming the person that you always wanted to be.
Or you discover yourself even, because sometimes we don't even know ourselves.
Exactly. 100%. Like I remember being like younger. When I say younger, I'm talking like, 14, 15, 16. I remember looking up and, trying to paint a picture of my life and how I wanted to be. And I think that's, the route I was going prior to real estate investing wasn't wasn't the picture I had painted for myself when I was younger. And then, so I think that was maybe one of the pivotal points when I realized that, hey, this picture that I'm in right now isn't the picture I actually had painted for myself. What's happening? I got to make some changes.
That's great. And like, so what kind of, so what was the picture when you were 14 and like, what did you do to kind of to change yourself?
Well, the picture was always, to be a loving, happy, go lucky dad, being a great husband to a beautiful woman. And, and I had the children, I had the
You're
wife.
thinking of that at 14 and 15?
I mean, I guess, I don't know. I guess maybe I was a old soul, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, it was just sort of like that. I just sort of, being wealthy and being healthy and all that stuff. And I wasn't really any of those things. And then, I figured by the time I was 38, I'd have it figured out. And I was think I was 37 when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. And then I was just like, no, something's got to change. Obviously, whatever path I'm on right now isn't the path that I originally painted for myself. And so that's when that's when things started really changing for me.
That's so great. That's very, yeah, and it's good when we can, so that was like you would say then a pivotal point for you around that time frame that helped you make like a shift to start, I guess, a different, path in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that time, do you feel like you also probably did like a mini personal development, probably without even realizing?
Like in those younger in the beginning there. Yeah, I don't know. It's I guess, yeah, I guess in some ways I did. Yeah, um, went through some personal development. Yeah, I don't
Like,
know
do you have
how.
a
I don't know how
specific
to.
story or point in time that made you kind of like have that mind shift? Like, did something like, is there a specific story that just made you realize?
Um, I can't honestly. I can't pinpoint a specific time. What made that pivot? Like what made me think that or want that? But I think with growing up in we were the poor family in the school, right? We were that family that had no money and whatnot. So, so here I am. I'm thinking, okay, well, this isn't the life I want for myself. I want better. I want to be able to support my family. I want to be able to be happy. And so, trying to paint that picture, that I think that was maybe that was it there.
Yeah, that, and usually things like that is very true. It's the life that we live when we're young is really what paves the road forward. Be it like we love that life and we just want to make it better, or it's like this is not a fun life. I need to make a change. And usually it's always going to be one of the two. It's like either you completely change it, or it's like, you know what, I like this life, be it good or bad, but I like the life,
Yeah,
and you just continue it.
yeah,
So that's a great point, and it's very true because sometimes it's not like that one thing that changes you. It's more like just the life. Like you've had all these small things happen to you, or like just life happens, and it's probably reflecting back and was just kind of like, I'm kind of done with this life. Let's make some changes.
yeah, yeah.
That's great. And so, what would you say then? Last question. What would you say is your like 5 year, 10 year plan? Like, what do you see yourself doing in like in the next 5 to 10 years?
So in the 5 to 10 years, definitely continue building my real estate company. I actually just had this conversation with my lawyer today. Actually, basically, so I just turned 40 back in February, and so basically, I think by the time I'm 50, that's where I want to be, like pretty much 100% hands off. So from now till the time I'm 50, I'm definitely going to be, continue on with real estate investing, developing my system, developing my power teams, developing my companies. I might actually branch out into other real estate type companies, be it a contracting company, because we all love contractors. So I actually might start my own company, and look at different avenues in that way as well. So so the 5 to 10 year goal is definitely just continue building this lifestyle for my wife and my kids. My daughter, my twins are 12 years old now, and so they'll be going to school in 6 years. And so that's 6 years from now, like
With twins, that's a very expensive.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right, all in one, eh? Just boom, take all your money at once.
Yeah, that was exactly my thought. It's just like, oh, really, all of it at once, right? So, um, yeah. So yeah, I think and then by the time I'm 50, I hope to really just be more hands off and let things ride out, and really and start enjoying life. Because like I mentioned before, like my younger years, being the poor family in the school, you didn't get to do the same things that maybe a lot of the other kids get to do, like go on vacations and stuff like that. So I think that's where I'm going to really start living life. You know, from now to the time I'm 50, I got 10 years. You know, I'm going to start going to the gym. I've already started going to the gym, and continue that on, continue on with the health, and then, you know, build up the wealth, and then go from there.
That's awesome. And what about your job?
Oh,
Are you are you
that's
gonna be cleaning that soon?
no, yeah. So the sort of the one cool aspect of my particular job is I can literally leave it and go back to it as long as there's work there to do. I can go back to my job. But yeah, like, so I think for the first, you know, from now till over the next 5 years, I'll sort of come and go in and out of my job as I need or as I want. And then from that point there, after that 5 years, I think it'll be just, you know, pure real estate and continue developing those systems and keep buying.
That's awesome. I loved hearing your story. It's so nice to hear just people, making things happen and like you said at the beginning, it's a lot of people have this stigma that it's like you have to be like super smart or all these things, but it's like normal anyone can do this, and it's just really just putting your mind to it, like you said, setting those goals. And there's nothing really special about it. People always get scared. There's nothing special. And it's awesome to hear your story, and thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was great.
Thank you everyone. I hope everyone enjoyed this, and we'll probably be seeing Ben in another one once his house is ready, right? We'll probably have you on behind the scenes.
Yes, absolutely. I can't wait.
Awesome. Bye everyone. Thank you, Ben.
See ya. Have a good one.
You too.